In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of May 19th, and it looks like Silver Age Marvel continues to be hot. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of May 19th. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on movement and eBay sales data. So, like we do every Monday, let's take a look at what books are hot in the market. But before I get into the video for today, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. Also, some other housekeeping things. Last week, I did a live stream with Como Comic Books. We had a lot of fun. We talked some news. We played a game called Spec, Click, Forget. In case you didn't get a chance to see us on the stream, I do have the VOD on the channel, so I highly recommend you guys hop over to that and check it out because I would love to hear your guys' feedback. I'm getting more into the live stream game and trying to get better at it, so definitely let me know your thoughts, especially with regards to the Spec, Collect, Forget game because I have a lot of fun doing it and I would love to continue to sort of improve the game and the viewing experience, so let me know what you guys think about that. Also, as you can see, I'm not in front of my comic book wall. In fact, I am in the Pacific Northwest. I'm back in Vancouver doing some work up here. So for the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing videos from this room right here. Hopefully you guys enjoy the view. It's a little more blown out than it was when I was setting up the camera. I actually had like a nice downtown view for you, but then, the weather is the weather up here. So it got really, really hot. So I don't know. I might change the background a few times in the next coming videos, but just bear with me as we do it. But luckily for today's video, we don't really need to know what the background is because I got the Go Collect hottest comics article that I'm going to pull up and we're going to go over and talk about that here today. And as always, this article is written by Matt Tuck, great contributor to Go Collect. I will put a link in the description if you guys want to read the article and do further reading of it. But of course, I will give you my analysis here today. So let's get into the video and let's get into the article. Of course, this article is called Hottest Comics for May 19th, Silver Age Marvel Dominance. And like I do every week, I like to start at the bottom and work our way up. And we got a great list this week. A lot of cool books on the list. Ones that I actually have, which is always kind of cool, and ones that I would love to get my hands on. But here in the number 5 spot is a book that I actually have. This one is Captain America number 100, up 940 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually the first ongoing issue of the Captain America series. Now, Captain America, of course, had a very lengthy historic comic book run that would run for many, many, many years. And what they did when they brought Captain America back into the Marvel fold, of course, they brought him in Avengers number 4, and then he would go on to do like these storylines alongside Iron Man in the Tales of Suspense run. Well, eventually they would close those runs, and in 1968 they would do these big premiere issues for a lot of different characters, and one of them would be, of course, Captain America, and he would get Captain America 100, which this would be kind of like, effectively, it would be kind of like a Captain America number 1. This would kind of represent his sort of ongoing solo series. And this has always been a book that I thought was really cool as a collector item. I mean, just look at the cover alone. It's just incredible presenting cover. You get to see Captain America up there in the title. This was one of those first books that I bought for myself when I was like, wanting to get into collecting Captain America. Of course, I've mentioned before that he's in my top 3 favorite superheroes of all time. So this was kind of that big first key Captain America book that I ever got my hands on. And it's cool to see that, I think the market is sort of catching up to that because obviously it's going to be really hard if you're out there trying to get your hands on a Captain America comics book. I mean, those things have gone to the moon. And then there's Avengers number 4, which of course is a great book, but that one continues to rise. So when you take a look at like what's the next tier book as far as a collector item for Captain America, I think the market is gravitating to this Captain America 100. And that's one of the reasons it's shown up on this list here this week. But on top of that, of course, we're coming off the heels of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and there's a lot of excitement for the Captain America, mythos. But there's also been those rumors that Chris Evans is going to make a return appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at some point. And for that reason, I think all of the Captain America books have slowly been, getting more and more hot. And that includes this one right here, Captain America 100. And as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see there is a 9.8 selling fair market value on the census around that $8,000 mark. Of course, that was back in December of 2020. And then, you scroll down here, you look at the various numbers. And at the bottom, again, this is a book that I typically typically see, on eBay, always hovering around that kind of like $200, $250, maybe $300 range, depending on the grade, depending on like, how beat it is. But definitely a book that's like kind of in that 3-figure range, and for good reason, because this is a very, very awesome Captain America book to own. All right, let's move on now to the next pick here. The next pick is actually really interesting. This, of course, is Daredevil #1, up 941 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first appearance of Daredevil. Now, this has been a book that has been talked about a lot, because for a long time, this was probably one of the most criminally undervalued Silver Age first appearances of a major superhero for the longest time. Like, we talk about this era of comic books, where you get the first appearance of Thor and Iron Man and Spider-Man and all those types of characters. And Daredevil got his first appearance sort of in that same era too. I mean, granted, this book was a couple years after, say, Journey into Mystery 85 or 83 and Amazing Fantasy 15. But this one has always been like, a quarter of the price of those other books. And for a long time, it was very, very undervalued. Well, in recent, months, this book has really exploded and heated up. And finally, it's starting to kind of close that distance that, it had been so far behind the other ones. Like this, now it's finally hovering around, kind of that, Strange Tales 110 area, which is like a number that it feels like it should be, around it, or it should have been around for, many, many years. So Daredevil #1, definitely heating up, definitely undervalued. And I think that one of the reasons that it's finally starting to get the respect and the push is, of course, we had Charlie Cox's version of Daredevil on Netflix. And now there's been a lot of speculation that Daredevil is going to make an appearance, or Charlie Cox's Daredevil is going to make an appearance in the Spider-Man upcoming film. And that, now that Marvel has kind of reacquired the rights to all those sort of Netflix shows, there's a lot of anticipation that we might see Daredevil in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think for that reason, people are, starting to get their hands on this book and really, really chasing this aggressively. So Daredevil #1, first appearance of Daredevil, is the #4 pick here on the hottest comics for Go Collect. And as we dig into the numbers, you'll see 9.6 selling fair market value just this month around the $120,000 range. And then as you scroll down here to the bottom, depending on what kind of deal you're going to find, Go Collect has this listed fair market value around the $1,200, $1,300 range at the 1s and the 1.5s. But when I go onto eBay and look at this book, on the low end, I usually see this always hovering around, around that $2,000 range if you want to get your hands on this book at the lowest grade that you can get. So Daredevil #1 is up 941 spots and the fourth hottest book. All right, let's go on now to the third hottest book. And if I can get this control set, I'll finally talk about it. This is the Huntress #1, up 951 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first solo story for the Huntress, and I also believe that this is considered her first cover appearance. Now, of course, the Huntress is a character that has always been kind of in the DC mythos, and she actually made her on-screen debut, I believe it was, in the Birds of Prey film. She was one of the characters that Harley Quinn recruited in her journey. She had like the crossbow, the girl whose parents were murdered, and she wanted to enact vengeance. So the Huntress is a character that has kind of always been in sort of that DC mythos. In fact, I actually owned one of her comic books from the 90s. When I unearthed my 90s comic book collection, I actually ended up having one of the Huntress books. So a character that I was always vaguely familiar with, even though I don't know much about DC. So very cool that this character is starting to get, a little bit of excitement around here. Of course, mixed reviews with the Birds of Prey movie. I personally didn't think that the Huntress character was all that special within regards to the film. I think they could have done a better job with her. But I think with all the excitement, with this new kind of direction that DC is going in, there are still people that believe in this character and believe that eventually she can make an appearance on the screen, and perhaps for that reason, her books will get hot. So the Huntress #1 here, her first issue, her first cover appearance, her first solo story. This is definitely a book that seems like a great kind of collector item to grab if you're kind of either speculating on her character or you're just a fan of her character, because cover presentability, I mean, this one looks pretty awesome to me. And as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see 9.8 selling around that $140 range. So, definitely a respectable or attainable number to get your hands on. And then here on the low end of CGC, you're going to be finding this book, probably around the $20, $30 range on eBay. So the Huntress #1, interesting spec book for sure. That is the third hottest comic of the week. All right, let's go on now to the second hottest comic of the week. And that's going to be Uncanny XMen #213, up 953 spots. And this is a really cool one. Ultron. This is actually a few things going for it. I mean, there isn't one necessarily major, clear reason why this book is a sort of quote unquote a key issue, but there are some interesting aspects to it. Well, the first for starters, you can see right there that the cover is just absolutely amazing, right? This is one of the first times you're going to see Sabretooth and Wolverine battling on the cover. So I think for cover presentability alone, this book has definitely gotten really hot. Now, there's also a couple other elements to this book that makes it interesting. It is the first time that Betsy Braddock, who of course we all know is Psylocke, ends up becoming the character taking up the name as Psylocke, and then ends up in this book also joining the X-Men. So this is if you're a fan of the Psylocke character, this is sort of like the first time that she kind of, create or embraces her identity that we all like associate with her, and then joins the X-Men team. And then on top of that, there's also a small cameo of Mr. Sinister. At least that's what is speculated, that on Key Collector, for instance, they make a mention that Mr. Sinister makes a cameo appearance in this book. Now, I personally don't own this book, so I actually don't know to what degree his cameo appearance is in it. But regardless, I mean, again, still a very, very cool X-Men book, number 213, an incredible cover, and for many reasons. That this book might be getting hot in the market is just because, everything that is Wolverine has been getting hot in the market. I mean, you talk about Hulk 181, you talk about Wolverine #1, you talk about any X-Men book that touches Wolverine, that has a cool Wolverine cover. I mean, all of these books are getting super, super hot because Wolverine is just, one of the top characters in all of comic books. And then B, we all anticipate that Wolverine is going to make an appearance in the MCU at some point. So everybody is flocking to any book that has, an interpretation of Wolverine. And I have to assume that when we get Wolverine into the MCU, we're also going to see Sabretooth in there, and we're going to see some epic battles between these two characters. And when that happens, this book right here, capturing that type of battle, is going to get super, super, super hot. And as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see 9.8 selling fair market value around the $270 range, and you'll see that there's a bunch of sales here in May at the high end, and then at the low end here, you're not going to see too many CGC numbers. But again, another book that when I go into eBay, you'll see being sold around that $20, $25, $30, $35 range, depending on the deal you can find and depending on the grade. All right, let's go on now to the last book here. And the last book is a very, very cool one as well. This one is actually going to be Avengers number 55, up 956 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is considered the first full appearance of Ultron. Now, you guys know that I am doing my Avengers Grail run, 1 through 100. And this is one of those books that I've mentioned that I haven't actually acquired for myself yet. Number 55 being the first full appearance of Ultron. And as Matt points out in the article, of course, we got Age of Ultron, the MCU film that came out in 2015. And when that film came out, this was one of those books that was extremely hot. But, by the end of that movie, the Avengers defeated Ultron. And for the most part, this book has kind of tapered off. I mean, still higher than it was before that film existed, but at the same time, definitely cooled off in the market. But with the renewed interest from WandaVision, with Vision, there's been a lot of speculation that, maybe Ultron still exists somewhere in the Vision character. Maybe we would see Ultron make an appearance again in the MCU. I mean, in the comic books, they always try to destroy Ultron, but because he is an AI, you never actually can get rid of him. He always exists. He always is going to live on within computers and the internet, and then make another appearance and eventually try to defeat the Avengers then. So for that reason, there's always speculation that we could always see Ultron back into the MCU. And coming off the heels of WandaVision, there was a lot of speculation that we might see him actually in WandaVision, or perhaps in another property later on down the line. So for that reason, this book has slowly been creeping up and getting hot over these last few months. And finally, it's definitely hit this Go Collect article here as the number 1 book. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see a 9.8 selling fair market value around the $3,700 range. That was back in February 2021. Definitely a number that was probably hitting that mark because of WandaVision. And then down here at the bottom, you won't find necessarily CGCs for the too low of grades, but as someone who is looking for this book, looking to make their Avengers Grail run of 1 through 100, definitely a book that I sort of see hovering around that sort of $50, $60, $70 range, depending on the grade and depending on the deal on eBay. But that is, of course, on the low end. That's me wrapping up this article here. Avengers 55 up 956 spots, first full appearance of Ultron, and the hottest book of the week of May 19th. Well, that is all I have for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys own any of these books? I mean, I think it's pretty cool that, you know, things like Daredevil #1 and Captain America 100 have definitely heated up. I mean, I think books that are both undervalued for what they are, being great classic kind of Silver Age collector items. Definitely cool to see that those books are getting hot. And I would love to see Daredevil make an appearance in Spider-Man later this year. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next one.